In the mid-1960s, a French racing chronograph hit the scene. It was simple, sporty, and stylish. Well, fast forward to 2020, and the Yema Speedgraf automatic racing chronograph has returned. That's right, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Yema Speedgraf reissue. Super excited about this watch review. And a lot of you guys that have seen this watch enter my collection have been begging for this review, so stay tuned. It is 12:04 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okie dokie, guys, so the Yema Speedgraf, and when you take a look at this watch, you'll notice it's kind of a simple chronograph, but it definitely has kind of a vintage aesthetic, and that's because this is essentially a reissue of their mid-1960s, 1970s racing chronograph. Yema was kind of a heavy hitter back in the day, and then nothing really happened for a few decades, and then come 2020, they're releasing a lot of really cool stuff. A few watches being essentially reissues, and I actually have two of them. I have this and another watch that I've teased in another review, so stay tuned for that. But special thanks to Yema for supplying me with this watch. During one of my live streams, I mentioned that the next watch I was going to buy is a Yema Speedgraf reissue because I've worn an original Yema Speedgraf, and I just think it's kind of a really cool under-the-radar racing chronograph with an automatic movement. And then, lo and behold, Yema contacted me and they sent me one to my P.O. box. So special thanks to Yema for gifting me this watch. Full disclosure, this is one of the limited edition numbered variants, and I've seen these numbered variants sell online already for just under $2,000, so that's kind of crazy. Again, I'm not a huge fan of quote-unquote limited editions. I don't think they're really that much more special than the regular variants, but let's go ahead and talk about this watch because I've had it for about a month and it's been in my daily rotation pretty much that whole time. So yeah, very, very fun watch if you couldn't tell. I'm a big fan already, and I've had some time to test it and wear it a bunch, so let's talk about it. All right, guys, so when we take a look at this watch and we can see everything sweeping very, very smoothly, have no fear, this is not a mecha quartz movement. This is actually a true mechanical automatic movement. And when we pay attention to this second subdial over on the right-hand side, we can see a very, very smooth sweep there. That's because this is a 28,800 BPH movement, and it's actually supplied by Seiko. That's right, this is a Seiko NE86 automatic chronograph movement, about a 45-hour power reserve, again 28,800 BPH. I believe it has 34 joules. Very, very impressive movement in this French watch. So a little bit of collaboration, the French, the Japanese coming together to bring this reissue to life. One thing, kind of a quirky thing I want to talk about is this does have a ghost date. Okay, what does that mean? It means the movement has a date complication, but the dial itself does not accommodate that date complication. So there is a date complication under the dial somewhere, and you can kind of feel it click into place. You can also feel it on the crown. So here's what I mean. The crown does have two positions. So here's one position, and you can actually cycle through the date complication, which is kind of wonky because you don't see anything on the dial. And then the second position, you can see everything is stopped because this is a hacking and hand wind movement. So yeah, we can give it some extra juice by winding that up. Let's actually go ahead and move the handset, and you can see when the complication, the chronograph complication is activated, the subdial will move along with the minute hand. Let's go ahead and stop the chronograph and clear it. Bounce it back to 0. Very, very cool. Very, very sturdy pushers, so they're not flimsy or wobbly. A definite click, click. Love to see that. Again, the crown feel, 2 definite and distinct settings. Again, you're not going to be using that first position because this does not have a date complication that you can actually use. So for those of you who want the added functionality of a date complication, unfortunately, this is not the watch for you. So as we let the chronograph hand do its thing and glide across the dial, I want to spend a few moments and talk about the dial. I think Yema did a very good job here. It's kind of everything you need and nothing you don't. Just a simple dual register chronograph with incredible contrast. Okay, if you're talking about legibility, this is it. All right, the dual registers, boom, they stick out in a very, very good way. There's of course that gorgeous spiral texture on those dual registers. Very clean, pristine, matte black dial that again, really, really contrasts very nicely against those dual registers. And then when we're talking about legibility, those applied indexes just pop off that matte black dial, and some very good lume that we're gonna put right here. Yeah, check it out. It is glowing. Now in this shot, I want to bring something up about the watch and just how kind of confusing it is in a way. So part of the charm about this watch is how simple the design is. Again, they didn't really change much from the original 1960s Speedgraf. And it's okay, matte black dial, white registers, a chronograph complication, but nothing else really on the dial. It's kind of simple, but you move it and then it plays with the light so well that it's just really, really captivating and dynamic. Again, those applied indexes are just so sharp. They pop against the light. This handset practically glows without even looking at the lume. It's just crazy, incredibly sharp, and again, very dynamic without being too busy. So this is a far cry from like a Breitling Navitimer. Just a very clean dial, and again, nothing you don't need here. All right, so I want to show off the profile of this watch so you can kind of take a look at that crystal distortion coming off that box sapphire. I mean, that crystal just hangs so high above that bezel. And some people aren't gonna like that. Some people really don't like crystal distortion, but I say if you're going for a vintage retro aesthetic, to be authentic, you gotta have some hardcore crystal distortion, and this sapphire really pulls it off. So you kind of have the best of both worlds here. You have the whole vintage charm of a really high box crystal, but it's not going to be super vulnerable because you have the modern benefit of using a sturdy, resilient sapphire. So I really, really do like that this is a truly wearable, almost vintage watch. And something else that kind of adds to this robust build is that although you don't have a threaded crown, you do have a 100-meter water resistance rating. So if this were to be your everyday watch and you just want to have it on a constant rotation, you know, rain or shine, you'll be able to wear this without really having to worry about it. So would I use it to go to the beach and to go swimming? Probably not, because again, I have the benefit of wearing things like this. You know, I have G-Shocks, I have dedicated dive watches, excuse me. But if I were to wear this every day and then, you know, the off chance it does rain in Los Angeles, I wouldn't have to, you know, quickly throw this watch in my pocket or something. I could wear it on the wrist and not worry about it. So yeah, you get the vintage charm and the modern, robust build. Best of both worlds. All right, and so when we flip this watch over, we can see that Yema crest, Speedgraf, France, sapphire crystal. Says 10 bar, so we are getting that 100-meter water resistance rating. And then what's interesting is this is the numbered edition. Okay, so this is their limited edition, and this is number 139 out of 300. So yeah, lucked out. Got a limited edition watch from Yema. Thank you so much. Again, I don't really care that it's quote-unquote limited edition. I just care that it's a really cool vintagey chronograph. But let's go ahead, measure this thing, and put it on the wrist. All right, guys, now is the time to break out the digital calipers. It wouldn't be a T3 watch review without doing this. We're going to try and miss the chronograph pushers and exclude that crown. At its widest point, we are getting a 38.6 millimeter case diameter. We are getting 48.2 millimeter lug to lug, and that enormous crystal there. We're getting a 15.6 millimeter case thickness. So kind of a thick boy here, but it is an automatic chronograph with a very large crystal. So, you know, I don't mind it being a little bit chunky. All right, guys, here it is, the Yema Speedgraf reissue on my 7.5-inch wrist. You know, what makes this watch so special, in my opinion, is although this is a modern produced chronograph, it still retains those vintage measurements, right? So under 40 millimeter case diameter for an automatic chronograph produced nowadays, that's not super duper common, and I really love Yema that they didn't choose to make it enormous just because it's a modern chronograph. This is still very much quote-unquote vintage, and I love the fact that this is, you know, a vintage watch that I can wear every day and not have to worry about it, so I still have that confidence of it being a modern build. So guys, this has been a watch I've been wearing pretty much a month straight. It's just such a fun everyday piece. And again, you know, I consider myself a bit of a vintage collector. And so to have something that's kind of, again, crossing over into both worlds, modern and vintage, this is just perfect. And that's why during that live stream, gosh, must have been like a month and a half ago, when I said that this was going to be the next watch I was going to buy myself, Yema kind of beat me to the punch and sent it to me. So special thanks to Yema for giving me a watch I would have purchased anyway. So yeah, this is a definite keeper in my collection. And for those of you asking, this watch, I think, you know, the non-limited edition variant retails around $1,500. Again, unfortunately, I've seen these numbered edition variants sell for just under $2,000, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But for around 1,500 bucks, automatic chronograph with that definite vintage sizing, sapphire crystal, 100-meter water resistance rating, really, really rich history. I still think that's a steal. And again, for those of you asking, this is being worn on a man cave leather strap. If you want to learn more about man cave leather, click up here and I've made a video kind of reviewing these rally straps. So special thanks to Mikola over at Man Cave Leather for making me this awesome rally strap. It just goes perfectly with this watch, and this whole kind of package goes perfectly with my 911. So I kind of feel like a vintage race car driver. I don't know. We can all dream, right? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this Wednesday review, and special thanks to Yema for being a big supporter of my channel, and thanks to Man Cave Leather for supporting me as well. So, guys, thank you for watching this episode. Thanks for getting me past 144,000 subscribers, and we are officially entering the holiday season, guys. So I hope you have a great Christmas. Hope you have a great Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. You know, we still got some time before the holidays happen, but who knows? Maybe this watch will be on your list. Send Santa the list, send Hanukkah Harry the list, and maybe you might get lucky and you might get a Yema Speedgraf, or maybe some straps, or maybe some coal if you've been a bad boy like me. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Yeah, check out all the links in the description below. You can check out my website, www.thetimtellershop.com, but we sold out for Black Friday, so thank you so much, everyone that purchased items at the shop and sold us out. You guys rule. And yeah, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, The Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.